Today we will be replacing a power steering box on a third generation Camaro. These boxes oftentimes have tons of slop and poor steering feel. A professionally remanufactured box solves these issues. Remove the hubcaps and then remove the lug nuts. Remove the sway bar end links. And then drop the sway bar and wonder bar if you have one. Remove the cotter pin. Unbolt the chassis support brace. And then remove the castle nut. Separate the center link from the pitman arm. Remove the steering shaft. And drain as much fluid from the power steering pump reservoir as you can. Loosen the 2 flare nuts on the power steering box. And remove the power steering box bolts. So you can access the third power steering box bolts once you remove this frame support bracket. Remove the final bolt and slowly drop the power steering box. For the next couple shots, I switched cameras, and unfortunately the other camera had very low video quality, so I apologize for that. Remove the nut and lock washer from the original power steering box, and then spray the pitman arm with penetrating fluid. I spent a little extra money and purchased a professionally remanufactured steering box from Redhead Steering. Next, we're going to clock the new pitman arm to ensure that it aligns with the old pitman arm. Grease the threads and install the new pitman arm alongside a lock washer and nut. It's much easier to tighten the pitman arm bolt if the steering box is already bolted to the frame of the car. Tighten the bolt until the pitman arm is flush with the splines. Connect the center link to the pitman arm. Center the steering wheel. And then torque the 3 steering box bolts. Reinstall the steering shaft. Put some Loctite on the steering shaft bolts and then torque it down. Tighten the small Torx bit. Reinstall the castle nut. And then reinstall the cotter pin. Place a new O-ring on the high pressure line. And then reconnect the 2 flare fittings to the power steering box. Remove the old return line hose. And then replace it with a new line. And use hose clamps to secure the return line. Reinstall the frame support bracket. And then reinstall the crossmember support bracket. Reinstall the sway bar and wonder bar and torque them down. Reinstall and tighten down the sway bar end links. Fill the power steering pump with ATF. My choice of fluid was Redline's ATF. I chose this fluid because it has a much higher resistance to heat in comparison to power steering fluid. If you're pushing your car to the outer limits, at say the autocross or a track, it's pretty important to keep ATF temperatures in check. If you don't, your power steering system will fail. If your car is just street driven, I recommend just a regular ATF. The next step is to purge all the air from the lines, and the way we do this is turn the steering wheel 25 times lock to lock with the tires off the ground. Let the car sit for a full 24 hours. Top off the fluid, then turn the wheel lock to lock 15 more times, of course with the tires off the ground. Lower the car back onto the ground. Start the engine, and then turn the wheel lock to lock. Ensure that your steering has full range of motion and it isn't clunking or rubbing. Check for any leaks. And just a fair warning, this has the potential to be a very messy job. I went ahead and installed a power steering cooler while I was at it. I cut and connected AN fittings to the stock stainless lines. I then routed the lines to a front-mounted steering radiator. A power steering cooler will keep ATF fluid levels in check under heavy stress. This isn't necessary for a street-driven car, but because my car is hammered on at the autocross, it was good insurance to keep my expensive redhead box alive. After installing this new power steering box, I immediately went to the autocross, and I have to say that this power steering box is fantastic. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to my channel.